It's time for the Movin the Chains podcast. Your home for high school football coverage in the Palmetto State. Every team, every game, every week. And now your hosts, Kevin Thomas and Jerel Hendricks.
Welcome in to Movin the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel Hendricks. We're here on our Week 3 Folly Row recap show. Jerel, not the maybe high-level matchups that you would see in some of these other weeks here, but a lot of really good ball games. We had some upsets and just a fun week of football overall, man.
Yeah, man, another great one. Excited to, talk about these games as we go through it on this show here. But like you said, a lot of fun. Maybe not, on paper, the best slate that we saw coming into the week, but it was still fun nonetheless.
No doubt about it. Well, if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, we appreciate you. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. That's MOVINCHAINS.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly recap show. Comes out here Sunday nights, Monday morning, something like that. Drill and I do to recap the week's action. We do a live preview show on Tuesday nights about 7 o'clock over on Facebook and YouTube. Love to have you guys join that and comment and ask what your favorite teams. A really fun, interactive show that we do there. We do our weekly Twitter Spaces on Friday nights about 10:30, 11 to kind of go through a scoreboard show with you guys. We have lots of great guests hop in, talk about the games they were at. A lot of great fans, broadcasters, coaches, all types hop in. It's a lot of fun there. We do weekly Players of the Week, Teams of the Week, etc. And like I said, you can find all of our content at Movin Chains, movinchains.com, and things like that. But let's get a quick shout out to our friends of the program before we break down the game that we were at last Friday night.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Come for the deals and stay for the quality with Folly Row. From polos to Q-zips to hats and more, their moisture wicking, quick drying, and anti-wrinkle apparel is the perfect blend of comfort and fashion for game day. FollyRow.com and at Folly Row on social media. Folly Row. Very good polos.
Jerel, John, and I headed over to Hillcrest High School, Chandler Stadium on Friday night to see a big 5A matchup between the Boiling Springs Bulldogs and the Hillcrest Rams. Two teams that have been playing pretty good football, it seemed like, Jerel. Two teams that were maybe a little bit overlooked, it felt like, in the 5A ranks, but they were looking to make some noise for sure. It ended up being a great night weather-wise, a great crowd, and I was really, really excited heading into this ballgame. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to get a look, at these two teams. Like you said, they've been overlooked a little bit in that 5A rank. It's good to see some teams in the upstate. We've been road warriors earlier in the season, so it's been, good to kind of hang around the upstate and actually see some really good football. Awesome environment. It's great to talk to the Hillcrest staff before the game. I just hate that we didn't get to talk to the Boiling Springs guys, but they're doing a fantastic job. High-level football. Just a lot of fun to see. And it was good to have all three of us together for the first time this season, too, for 4 weeks into the season.
That's right. The Rams, a lot of playmakers. Number one is Avery McFadden, of course, there. He starts off the game with a 39-yard touchdown run, kind of out of the Wildcat there. They score on their opening drive, go up 7-0. After that, there wasn't a whole lot of action really early on in the ballgame. I think Hillcrest defensive line came up and stopped Boiling Springs their first drive on a 4th down play there. I know Boiling Springs did get the ball back and drive down, and I think they got, around midfield, and Husky was hit and fumbled again, so we had a turnover there early. Hillcrest drives down, misses a field goal. They're still leading 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. I believe then they finally do get a drive going. Boiling Springs does, get down inside the 10-yard line, a fumbled exchange. Hillcrest falls onto the 10 to kind of preserve that lead, but the next drive, Lincoln Husky, 37-yard touchdown pass to Tristan Johnson. Boiling Springs finally does get on the board. Extra point is no good. Hillcrest has a 7-6 lead, and they hold that lead going into the half, Jerel. And, we were a little bit caught off guard by maybe the play by the defenses on both sides of the ball. I feel like both defensive lines really had their way with the other side a lot of the night, especially that first half there. Lincoln Husky for Boiling Springs was, trying to do all he could, taking a lot of hits, hanging there. He played some really good football early on, especially. Hillcrest on the other side looked really good that first drive with McFadden scoring the touchdown. After that, kind of bogged down a few times. Had a couple turnovers there. I think Sutton fumbled late in the half for them as well. But just what did you make out of that first half? Because from my side, I felt like both teams were, just couldn't really get out of their own way almost, it felt like.
Yeah, it was just a lot of throwing a lot of jabs, I'll say. But it's like with the games we've been to this year, it's kind of been, line of the scrimmage. One team has dominated the other. But this was a situation where both defensive lines, kind of dominated those games and kind of dictated, what was going on. Neither squad was able to really run the football effectively, and that kind of affected, the pass game as well. Both teams were really physical too. I like to see that. They were getting after it. I was really impressed, with Bowling Springs quarterback Lincoln Husky, man. He's a lefty, man, big kid, thick kid, man. He's fast. They sprinted him out a lot, but to both sides. He was sprinting out to the left and the right, able to, kind of flip his shoulders, flip his hips, and make some really good throws. And like you said, he was kind of carrying that offense for the most part. A lot of mistakes, a little bit of some sloppy play there on both sides of the ball, and that's how you end up with a 7-6 ball game at the half. But Avery McFadden would be the difference in that second half for sure.
Yes, he would. Early on in the quarter, the Rams drive down inside the 10, but McFadden is hit by Campbell Johnson, and he fumbled. Bowling Springs recovered at their own 8 to kind of keep that just a 1-point game there, but they couldn't do anything with it. McFadden comes right back the next drive, a 5-yard touchdown run to extend that lead to 14-6, just over 2 left in the third quarter. Bowling Springs, they attempt to run the option their next drive. Hillcrest knocks it down and falls on just another turnover for the Bulldogs there at the plus territory. But Bowling Springs, you got to give hats off to the defense. They held strong on fourth down. They get the ball back and trail just by 8 heading into the third quarter. And this is where the game, really kind of had a big swing for me, Jerel. The Bowling Springs defense holds Hillcrest. Hillcrest forced to punt. They kick not the best punt in the world, but it takes a very fortuitous bounce, hits the Bowling Springs player. Hillcrest recovers at the plus 40. And that was a possession that Bowling Springs lost where they had some momentum there. And that was a super big play for me there. Both teams traded the ball a couple times on fourth down and punts and whatnot. And then really to ice it, just under 3 minutes to go, a 41-yard touchdown pass from Sutton to Avery McFadden. And Hillcrest goes up 21-6, and they hold on to win by that final score. We talked to Coach Swigert and Avery McFadden after the ball game there. And, he was quite up front and said, our offense didn't play the best. Like we said, sputtered. He said, that's kind of being kind. We didn't really get it going there. But
yeah,
it's a team that, like you said, I was very impressed by the defense on both sides of the ball. And I do like Hillcrest a lot because they have a couple of explosive playmakers like Avery McFadden, like a Thomas Stanley. He didn't really get it going, but he is a playmaker as well. And then obviously Caleb Sutton, the quarterback spot, can kind of do it through the air and on the ground, it feels like.
And I'm sure, like in the film review, on the Hillcrest side on the offense, Caleb Sutton, he left a lot of meat on the bone. I feel like, there's a couple plays where he maybe held onto the ball a little bit too long, but that's what happens when you're as talented and athletic as he is. He probably thinks he can make every play, and he's trying to do that. And he knows it's a big game. He's still a young player and very, very talented. So he'll clean that up. And sometimes he just needs to get out of the pocket and use his legs and run, pick up some first downs. But the biggest, one of the biggest things, I'll just say, boil it down to 2 things here. The improvement on that Bowling Springs side, just to see, how improved that team is, just the second year under Coach Reel's, system, overall, they played some really good football, down the stretch. Like I said, early it was a little bit sloppy, but that was on both sides. But they settled in and they played some good football. And then, like with Hillcrest, they're going to get that offense going, get Caleb Sutton going. It's a good environment. Like I said, they left some meat on the bone, and there's just 2 really good football teams. I was really excited to see it.
I love what Coach Reel's doing. That team is very well coached. You could tell they're getting better and better. And then on the Hillcrest side, we've seen these guys play in the past several years because they've had a lot of the same names. Obviously, you knew Judy and Coldren and those guys, but now it's Stanley and McFadden's still there and Sutton. I love what Coach Swigert's doing to get Avery the ball in different ways. We saw him in some wildcat stuff, saw him running some kind of orbit motion option stuff, some swing passes, some deep routes, some screens, whatever. I think he understands. And that's what I love about especially high school football drill. If you got a guy that talented, that explosive, just get him the ball as many times as you can in many different ways. And I love what they're doing on offense with him, and that was super impressive. But then that defense, too, man, this is a Bowling Springs team that have been putting up big numbers. I think Husky had 9 touchdown passes already on the year. To hold them to 6 tonight, or I guess Friday night it was, super impressive with that Rams defense as well. But always a good time over there at Hillcrest Chandler Stadium. A great time talking to some coaches and staff and fans before and after the game. Appreciate Coach Swigert and Avery McFadden giving us some time for the game as well and talking to us. But great atmosphere, as you said, great environment, and just an overall great Friday night, really.
Most definitely, yeah. We'll definitely probably be seeing these guys, and I think both teams. I still think Bowling Springs has a real opportunity over there in that Spartanburg, area region in the upstate to get a playoff spot. They can secure maybe a 3 or a 4 seed. Don't really know if they're ready to challenge those upper echelon teams there, but they'll have their opportunities to play. And then Hillcrest, man, if they get defensive performances like that, every single week, they're just going to be a tough out for anybody they play. And like you said, always fun to get to Chandler Stadium. Looking forward, maybe in the playoffs to get back there again.
No doubt about it. Let's put in that interview with Coach Bennett Swigert right now, and then we'll wrap up our recap from our Week 3 game, Bowling Springs at Hillcrest. Bennett Swigert, Hillcrest Rams now 4-0, 21-6 win tonight. Coach, your offense sputtered at times. Avery McFadden, 3 touchdowns. How much does it help having a talent like him in the squad?
Ooh, sputtering is being real nice to us. We ran the football really well. We probably got a little too pass heavy, and I say we, I mean me. And probably should have kept it on the ground. But, man, Avery's a guy that we know we can count on in any situation, right? You see him out wide. He's played every position for us, slot, outside, number 2, running back. We snap it to him. He's a corner tonight, kick returner. Avery McFadden is an extremely good football player. I know he's not 6'5", right? But somebody's going to get a really good football player, and some other people are going to miss out on a really good football player.
Now, on the defensive side, you guys play great. You get the turnover there, they're going in and try to score. You pressure Husky all night long. How impressed were you with what you guys have done on the ball?
Man, extremely impressed with those guys up front. They threw it a lot. We didn't get defense line didn't get too many calls to help us out with a hold. They played through it, played physical, and that's with all that being said, missing our starting defense and our transdance. And it's good to see that next man up philosophy where nobody flinched. They all believed in each other. And look, everybody wants to talk about Avery and that offense and Caleb, and that's good. I understand why they're great players. But this defense plays team defense. They fly around to the football, they rally, and we're starting to tackle better. And I'm an offense guy. My dad was a defense guy, and the one thing I always learned was offense sells tickets, defense wins championships, and I can't be more proud of that unit tonight.
Last one, Coach. This is a hard-fought game, really back and forth there. What are you talking about the resiliency of your team tonight this week?
Man, I'm so proud of these guys. Everybody talks about we haven't played the toughest schedule, and I get that to a degree, but our 2 most recent games, we started off with a 6-0 deficit. No fighting amongst each other, no finger pointing amongst each other. It's defense, hey, we got y'all. It's offense, hey, let's go score again. And then tonight, when everything was sputtering and coming to a halt, I got to look at getting a new offense coordinator in here. Man, it's just good to see those guys starting to believe in one another and believe in what we're trying to do here.
Head coach Bennett Swigert, his Hillcrest Rams 4-0 now after a 21-6 winner over Bowling Springs. Congrats, Coach.
Man, thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was head coach Bennett Swigert after Hillcrest 21-6 victory over Bowling Springs to push the Rams record to 4-0 on the season. Appreciate him giving us some time. And if you guys have not seen the Avery McFadden interview, that is also on our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram pages as well. So check those out, and appreciate those guys giving us some time as always.
All right, Kev, let's go ahead and look at the rest of our games of the week, man. We're going to start off with a low-scoring defensive battle, in the lower part of the state, and that's Bamberg and Blackville-Hilda. Bamberg's able to hold on and win this game 7-6. Good performance from them, defensively on both sides. Blackville, man, that's a team that's much improved. The Hawks have got some juice this year.
I think I said it on our Spaces Friday night. I'm almost more impressed with what Blackville-Hilda did there. This is a team that we saw beat Barnwell a couple weeks ago. People are like, okay, maybe they're good, maybe they're not good. They, I think, just barely snuck into the 1A poll finally last week. Coach Jones' squad is serious. They're pretty legit. Playing Bamberg to 1 point. That game was at Bamberg as well. That's a great performance. The Fighting Hawks are going to be there at the end in 1A, I think. That's a good program. And, of course, on the flip side, Bamberg, we know they're solid. 21 or 22 starters back. Coach Crosby's doing a great job there. Chancellor Crosby at quarterback is a great player for them. They will be there as well. But just a great knockdown, drag out, slugfest there in 1A on Friday night.
Most definitely. These are two teams that are probably going to match up again, looking at the season trajectory, second, third round of the playoffs, but that's a good performance. You go from no offense to a bunch of offense, and that was Hartsville, traveling to Dillon. Hartsville's able to pull away late in this ball game. They win at 51-34. Man, Dillon actually controlled much of the football game, up at half, up into the third quarter, well, more back and forth in that third quarter because Hartsville came out, really quickly and was able to recapture a 29-28 lead there. But the Red Foxes are legit, and it's another team. I feel like we're going back. You learned a lot about Dillon in that game. We talked, early in the season about how, they maybe had some depth issues and things like that. But, for them to stand toe-to-toe with Hartsville, who's probably a top 3 team in 4A, shows a lot about how good, Dillon is this season.
No doubt there. Dillon had a couple playmakers. Jamarian Fling still out for them. Peanut Singletary had a huge game on the ground. I think he had, 100 plus, 180 plus, 2 scores in the first couple quarters. Was just getting after it there. McCollum had some touchdowns as well for them. I think they just kind of got worn out. Like we talked about in the previous show, they didn't have a ton of depth up front, especially. And that Hartsville team can just lean on you after a while, man. Hakeem Waters had a huge game. Carmelo McDaniel had a big game. McKendry Douglas had a big game. He even went out with injury for a while and came back, still had a huge game. I think late, I believe Hartsville scored twice in like a minute or so. They had a touchdown. They kind of kicked a little pooch kick and recovered that as well, scored again, and just pulled away late. But two really good football teams, a great PD region matchup down there. Super impressed really with what both squads did. And then Hartsville, I think, I'm a big time fan of theirs this year. Big win there for the Red Foxes.
Most definitely. Our next game was not that competitive. Abbeville's a team that had been playing with fire the last couple of weeks, and it finally caught up to them in the fashion of the Westside Rams there. Westside wins this game 48-13 down in Abbeville. I understand this is a 4A, 2A matchup, but Abbeville's shown, they can go up against the big boys and they can play, some big-time football, but they just did not have it this week. That's not a team in Westside that you can play around with. I think they're going to be on a mission. They open up the season with a big loss to BHP, but Westside's got a lot of talent. Coach Blaine there does a fantastic job in his first season. He's done a fantastic job at his other stops, but, taking over that program, that's a statement win for Westside. I think that's a big one.
Big game for Cutter Woods through the air. But I'm really more impressed with that Rams defense. A side of the ball that we've talked about for years has kind of struggled to hold an Abbeville team to 13. Like you said, it's a 4A, 2A matchup, but still that's a very good performance. And I think it may have helped playing TL Hanna the week before. Obviously not the exact same offense there from TL Hanna and Abbeville, but probably some similar concepts, running the ball a lot and whatnot. But big win for Westside. Abbeville's going to be fine, I think, but I would like to see them start off a little bit quicker instead of having to try to come back so much in these ball games. But big win for Westside. Cutter Woods, man. If you guys have not seen him throw the football, he is special.
Most definitely. Westside, I think that did help them this week, playing Hannah last week because, it's the same principle. It might not be the same scheme exactly, but it's assignment football, and they showed that aptitude to do it again. I want to give a shout-out, to Jamar Boston, the Westside, athlete there, committed to NC State this past week. I think he did it on his birthday, so that's pretty cool for him to do it. I think he's still playing on defense, so hopefully he gets healthy so he can go catch some of those Cutter Woods passes. But going to our SCSA game of the week, and it looks like we may have made a mistake in selecting this one, Kevin. Pinewood Prep picks up their first win of the season in a big way. They knock off First Baptist 77-27. We were looking at this one, keeping track, while we were over at Chandler Stadium. We were like, is this a typo? Is Pinewood really up by 50 at like halftime? But, they just gave, First Baptist all they could handle. First win for head coach Devontae Holloman at Pinewood. They really just laid it to First Baptist on Friday night.
I was very surprised by this score. I honestly, I picked First Baptist to win. I was wrong there, of course, but I thought it'd at least be a competitive ball game here. But big game from Grayson Saligo there for Pinewood, and just they got it going under Coach Holloman. Finally, like you said, Drew, I think they had like 50 points, something like that, in the first half. Like, it was just an unreal number. And this is a First Baptist team that we thought had been playing some pretty good football. Lost close in week 0. had a game canceled against Bishop England, and then obviously got beat bad by James Allen. But that wasn't really a surprise to us. But this game shocked me. 77-27, 50-point win for Coach Holloman and the boys. Huge win there. And congrats to him on his first win as the head coach of the Panthers.
Most definitely. You got to hope these back-to-back weeks for First Baptist, though, and Coach Birch's, his new staff, new team there, you just got to hope that it doesn't snowball, because that can happen early in the season. Kids lose confidence, they lose interest, especially when you're trying to implement a new culture and new systems there. I just hope that, these 2 wins doesn't, snowball into a bad season for them. Hopefully they can bounce back. But again, impressive win for Pinewood there. Again, our games of the week presented by Kona. We had Hillcrest 21, Bowling Springs 6. Bamberg knocks off Blackville 7-6. Hartsville over Dillon 51-34. Westside defeats Abbeville 48-13. And in our Skeeza game of the week, Pinewood Prep knocks off First Baptist 77-27. Kevin, let's go to the rest of our Pick'em contest games. That Pick'em contest every week is presented by Hannah Engineering, my favorite thing that we do on this show. And the first one we have here is AC Flora knocking off Brooklyn Casey. Man, a really competitive game in the Midlands. AC Flora wins it 42-35. Brooklyn Casey, man, they lost a lot of, key position players from last year's team. Didn't really know what they were about, but it looks like they've got a very good squad down there. AC Flora, they've bounced back, from an early loss. Hold on in this football game. Good win for the Falcons, but again, no moral victories, but that's an impressive showing from Brooklyn Casey.
The Bearcats tried to fight back late, and AC Flora held off. Big win for Coach Floyd's squad. I think last year this game was blowout in AC Flora's favor. Yeah. So BC getting better, played tight. I think they're going to make some noise in 3A, especially in that region. Should be a lot of fun down there with LR and Gilbert and whatnot. But big win for Coach Floyd. Feel like AC Flora maybe turning a corner and getting to be a better football team. And then obviously Coach Sharpie's squad is good as well. So we'll see. We'll learn more about them here in the next couple of weeks.
Down in the Low Country, we had Lucy Beckham taking on Hanahan. Lucy Beckham wins this game 35-14. That defense for the Bengals continues to do some great things. But Hanahan, man, they hung in there, for the majority of this football game, kind of got away from them late here. Good showing for them as well. The Hawks did well. I know they had some injury issues coming into the game, but a lot of credit, man. Lucy Beckham, this is second year of their program. They just continue to improve. They got some studs all across the field for that team.
Like you mentioned, Hanahan, some depth issues this week, some injuries and whatnot, some guys hurt and banged up, but they held a 14-13 lead in this ballgame. I think it may have been at halftime, actually, but just couldn't quite hold up in the second half. But I think both these teams are really good. I'm interested to see what Lucy Beckham can do when they get to the region play and some of those guys, but I like both of those squads a lot.
Definitely going to be exciting. Speaking of exciting, everyone's favorite team in the state of South Carolina, and that's Gray Collegiate. They take down Camden in impressive fashion. They win this game 30-12. The offense has been showing out the last few weeks, but we had a really good defensive performance from the War Eagles here. In this game, in the second half, Camden was trying to make a comeback. The War Eagles defense, stops Camden, turns them over twice, inside the 10-yard line, with Camden going in. Gray Collegiate's a legit team. Probably not going to play any other teams in the state of South Carolina for the rest of this season, but that's a very good football team. And, Kevin, I'll ask you this question. Do we need to ring some alarm bells for Camden and the Bulldogs there?
I'll start with that part. I think yes. I'm very worried about the offense. The last 2 weeks have not done much. That Hartsville game was out of hand before they put up any points really 2 weeks ago. And then this week, putting up 13. And you think, and it's kind of trended a bad way, in my opinion. We talked last week about how Coach Remp said that they didn't match the physicality of Hartsville. I just couldn't hold up against them. You would think a 3A candidate that's known for being big and physical and tough could at some point maybe lean and use some depth on top of a 2A Gray. That obviously did not happen last week. The Bulldogs, they got to get it figured out on that side of the ball. And then, you're worried about the defense too. You give up 50+ 2 weeks ago and 30-something this week, man. That team is, I think they're going to be fine, just based off reputation. And they've got the playmakers too. Like, we know the names of those guys with White and Mayran and Hickman and Krim and whatnot. But just right now they're not playing good football. But then on the flip side, you mentioned Gray. That is such a good football team. How much better does that Crestwood win now look from a couple weeks ago? Those boys are rolling. They're playing great under Coach Holmes. I want to say He said he's got a team from Florida, a team from Georgia, a team from D.C. scheduled. I think maybe one from South Carolina as well here to kind of make up some of these forfeited games. We'll see how that turns out. But huge win for those guys. I wonder what he's going to do, Jerel, because it seems like every week that the quarterbacks are both playing well. That's Dobson and Waller. The stats we get, like both of them playing great football. Do you continue to rotate throughout the whole season, or at some point do you try to stick with a guy? I don't know, but they got tons of talent around them with Alford and Lockett and Montgomery and Ford. And I mean, I know I say this every week, but Lockett is a special receiver. I didn't realize how good he was a couple weeks ago, and he's been a lot of fun to watch. But Gray is a great football team. I think they're going to D.C. this week. I don't know if that's officially announced yet or not, but I think that's where they're headed up this weekend to see how that ball game goes. But big win for those guys. And, yeah, you do worry a little bit about Coach Rampton and the Camden Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean, great, and we're talking about it. They have some stud players, but at the end of the day, it's still a 2A team. Numbers wise, it's not like they have a bunch of guys. They got like 50 dudes on the roster. So it's not like it's not like they're just cycling in a bunch of talent like a lot of people project them to be. As far as like the numbers go. And then Camden, I think that's very concerning. The offensive output, especially with Grayson White. I think he's a 3-year starter.
Hickman, I think.
Yeah, 4-year starter. Like you said, we know those other offensive names there. And even then, like I was reading that they had, Grayson White playing defensive end in special occasions, special downs. You don't want your quarterback playing DN, and that's a 3A school, so they should have, a little bit more depth there. So that's a bit concerning. But moving on, we had another great game that this score line doesn't tell the story of how exciting this game was in the Upstate. And that's Riverside knocking off Christ Church 48-28. This was a 28-28 ball game, I think, going into the fourth, into the third. Christ Church, 1A school going up, against Riverside, who's 4A. Riverside, that defensive line is loaded with talent. Coach Rochester's got his team playing very well. I know they had a disappointing loss a couple weeks ago, but that's a big-time win. I think Christ Church is one of the better teams in the state, regardless of classification. We know they're one of the most well-coached. But this is a situation where the Warriors get it done. And just sounded like it was an exciting game. We caught up with Coach Ramey, in our spaces on Friday. He kind of detailed what happened there, where it kind of just fell apart late, some turnovers and things like that. But this is a big win for the Warriors.
Riverside avenges last year's loss to Christ Church in a big way for sure. They've got some talent, the Skinner kid and Downs and whatnot. They can get it done on that side of the ball for sure. And then, Christ Church, Deshaun Reeder, big game again. They're going to continue to get better and better as their quarterback, and some of these young guys continue to get better and better with more playing time. They're going to be fine in 1A. But, yeah, Riverside, I think this win tells me more about Riverside than it does about Christ Church, I feel like. The Warriors are a team that been playing school football the last couple of years, and people still kind of write them off because they're Greenville County or whatever. And, they had a couple bad breaks the last couple of years with some injuries at the quarterback spot and some other key spots, kind of late in the season that really hurt them going to the playoffs and whatnot. But I think Coach Rochester's doing a great job there. They've got a good program now, it feels like. And, they're a team that I don't know if they're state championship ready this year, but they could certainly make some noise as we go down the stretch here.
Yeah, I think they're going to go as the quarterback goes. As he progresses and he grows up in these games, is able to, eliminate some of those turnovers. I think they can be fine, especially when you can just turn around and hand the ball off to Reeder, and you're not going up against like a Marcus Downs, Georgia Tech commit. So I think Christ Church will be fine. But moving on to a game that was not competitive at all. That's the South Point Stallions going up against the Chester Cyclones. Shutout here, 31-0. I don't have many game notes here. I mean, it just looks like it was a beatdown from start to finish. Stallions are a legitimate team, a state championship contender. Chester, we thought was there, but I think maybe they might be a year away and, start looking at these weeks that they've stacked up here. South Point, they got a big matchup next week. Hopefully they can, continue to progress as the season goes along.
Big bounce back win for South Point after the tough loss to Gaffney last week. I'll tell you what this game showed me, Jerel, and it's something that I thought maybe an issue going into the season, but then I thought, after a couple weeks, I maybe they figured it out. And that's Chester's offense. They may have an issue there because, last week that Fairfield Central game was 0-0 at the half. They put up 24 in the second half. And I think some of that may have been off of like a turnover, especially in play, something like that. And then tonight, or I guess I keep saying tonight, it's Sunday. Jeez Louise. Friday night, the Chester offense gets 0 against South Point. That's a good defense, of course, but just 0 is kind of surprising. And you don't like, I don't like to do transitive property too much, but you look at what Fairfield Central did this week against Lancaster. The Bruins put up 44 points against the Griffins there. And Chester kind of struggled, I felt like, offensively last week against those guys. So Coach Floyd has to get it going. Trooper Floyd, the quarterback, is a good athlete. They'll get it figured out, I hope. But they need some more points of that offense for sure. But I didn't expect them to win that ball game by any means, but I thought it might be a little more competitive than that. But great bounce back win for Coach Collins and the Stallions.
And our final game in the Pick'em contest, we had Lexington and Blythewood. Lexington just dominates here. They win at 32-7. Really like what Lexington's doing. You just know they've got a lot of talent on that team. The Wildcats do, but Blythewood does as well. Blythewood is a very good team with some senior leadership on both sides of the ball. And Lexington, like I said, just dominated this football game from start to finish. Really impressed by them. What are your thoughts, Kev?
Great win for the Wildcats. This is a team that struggled kind of last week, won on a last-second field goal there. But they didn't struggle at all this week, man. This is a solid Blythewood team, a team that, won their region last year, had a lot of those key pieces back, and been playing some pretty good football, it felt like. Lexington put the hammer down early and didn't look back. Big win for Coach Curtis's squad. The Wildcats are legit, and that's a big win for them.
Again, our Pick'em contest games presented by Hannah Engineering. We had AC Flora knocking off Brooklyn Casey 42-35. Lucy Beckham beats Hanahan 35-14. Gray Collegiate over Camden 30-12. We had Riverside knocking off Christ Church 48-28. South Point blanks Chester 31-0. And Lexington defeats Blythewood 32-7. Again, those are our Pick'em contest games presented by Hannah Engineering.
Well, Jerel, let's take a look now at our statewide scoreboard from week 3.
Hey, let's go ahead and kick it off in 5A. We got Ashley Ridge knocking off Colleton County 54-13. Not been a good couple of weeks for Colleton County there. Berkeley defeats West Ashley in comeback fashion. This is an exciting game. They win it 40-31.
Yeah, that's a huge bounce back win for those guys after a tough loss last week to, Somerville in kind of a rivalry game. They come back and, they're down late and have to, I think, recover 2 onside kicks and 2 pooch kicks there to win that ball game. Coach Claude, like I said a couple weeks ago, those guys are believing in the system. That's what's so impressive to me. I mean, you can, get a new coach in there, completely different from what they've been doing before, style-wise and just everything. But these guys are believing in what he's, telling them and the process he's trying to do. And they're winning a lot of close games. They're not giving up. They're fighting hard until the end. And that's a great comeback win. You'll hear some stats from some of their players here in a little bit, but big win for the Stags.
Huge win for those guys. Another big win. South Florence defeats Carolina Forest 30-22. Now, this is a very tight ball game. Bruins able to hang on, but that Carolina Forest team is one to watch as the season goes forward.
Very frisky there. I know South Florence had a late pick 6 to kind of ice that ball game there. But Carolina Forest kind of a little bit of a revenge game maybe for them. Their old running back Zion Gilbert over there at South Florence now starting for them. But good ball game between two really good teams, I feel like.
Clover wins the Battle of York County, knocking off York 21-14. Big win for those guys.
First win for Coach Woolbright there for the Blue Eagles as well.
That is, they didn't win last week.
Lost to Hillcrest. Lost to Hillcrest.
That's right. For some reason, I thought they won. Good job, Coach Woolbright. Happy for you. Speaking of first wins, Dutch Fork's first win. They knock off they get off the Schneid and they knock off Stratford in a big way. They win 54-7. I'm pretty sure those 54 points is more than they scored the first 3 weeks of the season combined.
And this is a Stratford team that took Lexington to the brink last week, correct?
Yeah,
I mean, this is not a bad football team at all. So great win there for Dutch Fork. I haven't seen the stats. I'm not sure who they went with the quarterback or how that worked out. I feel like they got the offense figured out a little bit, which is great. I mean, we knew they would win some ball games here, of course, but glad to get off that snide and get that first one there for Coach Knotts and the Silver Foxes.
It's one of those things, man. They'll be fine. I just have a feeling like it's gonna get to region play. It's gonna get to the playoffs, and we're gonna be talking about the Silver Foxes. Next game, we have Indian Land knocking off Fort Mill 32-7. I think we got a stat on this game. I think that's Fort Mill's 18 straight.
Yeah, it's not a good stat, Jerel. It's 18 straight L's for Fort Mill. They are trending the wrong direction right now.
We would have them stocked down, but I don't think you can buy it any lower. Beaufort knocks off Goose Creek. This is an impressive win for Beaufort, man. I think that's 2 in a row. These guys are going to gain a little confidence, man. The Eagles are good. They win at 32-25 there.
They're getting better and better. A big win over a 5A Goose Creek squad.
Greenville has a big win over Malden, 52-7. That's very expected. The Burns Rebels, they put it back to back. They knock off, I would say cross county lines. It's, Greer's in both Greenville and Spartanburg County, but they knock off Greer 49-13. And Jerel Man running it up on Easley, 49-13. Jerel Man needs to shoot up some poles. I think the Patriots are good. We know about that offense, but that defense has played really good this season as well.
If only there was a good poll that came out every week that, that some folks that knew a lot of football and saw football could put out. If only we knew some guys who could maybe do that in the next week or maybe like 2 days or 3 days. But just, if only we knew some guys who could put out a good poll like that.
Yep, Moving the Chains poll coming out on Tuesday, so be tuned in for that. So you'll see the first one. Something tells me the Jerel Man Patriots will be in the top 5 of our poll. Rock Hill, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Rock Hill knocks off Lower Richland 42-0. That was a surprising scoreline to see. Rock Hill's a team they've been down bad, Kev. They've been down bad, for a couple years now. And Lower Richland, man, that's a team that's got a lot of talent. Didn't necessarily think, Lower Richland would win the game, blow them out, but thought it would actually be competitive.
Lower Richland had a nice win a couple weeks ago. I thought they were going the right direction. And this is a score that I scrolled past probably 3 times on our Spaces Friday night. I was like, this is not correct. I'm not going to say this score. But it was right. I'm shocked by that. Matthew Wilson, the quarterback at Rock Hill, we know is a stud, an App State commit there, but didn't see this win by 42 points coming at all.
Gaffney goes up to North Carolina. They knock off Mallard Creek 24-7. It's a sneaky good win. Mallard Creek's a team that's always good. I'm pretty sure they're in that Charlotte area as well. But Gaffney goes up there and handles business on Friday.
They controlled this game from the start. Never really in doubt at all there for the Indians. Big win for them. They have turned it around very nicely after that week 0 loss to Crest with a couple of nice back wins now over South Point and Mallard Creek.
Myrtle Beach wins a tight one over Socastee 23-21.
Don't look now, Jerel, but that team's now won 3 in a row after that first week blip against Camden. Let's just call it that because, that game just had a snowball effect where just one thing went bad and they all started going bad. I think they're a better team than 43-0 over Camden that week 0, but they are playing much better football for Coach Wilson. They're getting it going on offense. Malachi Washington's a stud for them, getting it done on the ground there for them. I still think that Seahawks team is going to have something to say in that region play.
Another big win, Chapin over Newberry. They won this game 27-14. I think that's their 3rd straight as well. That's a team that's trending up for us. They had a little issue in the community there. It seems like they've rallied around and they're playing some good football these last few weeks. And Newberry is able to hold up strong, man. That's a 2A, 5A matchup. That's difficult anytime. It's a close game. I told you that game earlier in the week would have some juice, and it certainly did. Stahl knocks off North Charleston 20-4. That looks like a baseball score.
Stahl 2 wins on the season. I think Stahl hadn't won. If I've got my notes here, that was Stahl's first win since 2019 back in week 0. Now they've won 2 games this year, so hats off to Stahl there.
We'll just leave it at that. North Myrtle Beach defeats Conway. Conway, I think they're, defeated on the season. I don't think they've won a game. That game finishes 27-8. Northwestern knocks off Nation Ford in a big way, 62-0. Nation Ford had a thrilling victory last week, big-time upset. Trojans say none of that and just handle business quite easily.
They continue to roll. That week 0 loss to Providence Day in a close ball game. They have just smoked everyone since then. They're a really good football team.
For sure. Ridgeview blanks Spring Valley 42-0. Spring Valley having a tough go of it early in the season. River Bluff, they bounce back in a big way. The best way for River Bluff to come back, get that offensive line, get that offense alive is to play South Aiken's defense. River Bluff wins 63-28. The Thoroughbreds just continue to let teams run the score up on them. Not sure what's going on there. Kevin, interesting game here. You put your foot in your mouth almost to the ankle. Spartanburg barely loses to Grayson out of Georgia. This game's 21-19. Spartanburg actually controlled most of this football game. I think that's the most impressive loss of the season so far.
I was wrong, 100%. I thought this would be a blowout. I said it on the radio Friday. This is not going to be close. But then Spartanburg comes out. They block a punt. They score on that. I mean, they had the lead for a lot of the ball game there because this is a good Grayson team that I think beat Fort D like 40-something to nothing last week. So
41 to
nothing. I was thinking something similar here, but Spartanburg, that defense, man, they are lights out. I still have questions about the offense. I mean, I think everybody probably does there, but they are a very good football team. That defense is salty.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with Spartanburg, man. If they can figure out the offense, it seems like every week they're making a special teams or defensive play, score, to kind of just change the tide of these games. If they can figure that out, man, they're going to be an extremely dangerous team. We have St. James knocking off Lake City 43-28. And then the upset of the week, we got to stop here. Crestwood defeats Sumter in double overtime, 27-21. I'll let you redeem yourself here. We talked about it. I don't know if we did it on air or not, but I'm pretty sure it's recorded somewhere, man. We told you guys that Crestwood was going to give this Sumter team some fits. Thought it would be a close game. Did not call the upset, them winning it by any means, because this game's played at Freddie Solomon Field down there in Sumter. But they win the county battle. How big is a win for that Crestwood program?
I mean, that's huge. Yeah, we know Crestwood's good. Like, we know that Javion Martin is a stud. We talked about it. I think it was on the preview show. We said, hey, we saw Sumter play against Ridgeview, and we thought there were some opportunities for teams to attack them through the air. And we thought that Crestwood could do it with Martin, and they did. This is a game that was 21-all at half, no scoring the whole second half. Not really sure what happened with that, but then they go to the first overtime. Neither team scores. Second overtime, Crestwood wins it, and then 27-21 in double overtime. Huge win for them. Great defensive performance from those guys. A big physical Sumter team that is going to try to lean on you, push you around. Crestwood stood tall, just giving up 3 touchdowns. That's really impressive on that side of the ball for me after giving up 62 just 2 weeks ago to Gray. I mean, that defense, huge turnaround there for those guys. They're a really good 3A football team. I still think Sumter's a good squad, but we kind of know what their weakness is now. A team that can air it out, can move the ball through the air. Going to give them a little bit of trouble, but just a huge win for Crestwood, man. Can't say enough about that. A rivalry game there. Hats off to Javion Martin and crew.
Yeah, man, I think I was so excited I didn't even tell the score. It was 27-21. But the stat here, man, like you said, they played great, and that was a track meet. It was a 62-60 football game, and they hold Sumter to 21 points, nothing in the second half, and 2 overtimes. I think Sumter missed 2 field goals. The special teams came back to bite them there. But Crestwood, like, the play of the game was in that second overtime. They get a pick, in that first second overtime, or the first part of that second overtime. So, man, that is a huge win for them. That's putting everybody in the state on notice. That's just a big time win. TL Hanna over Wren in our next game. They win it 35-23. Golden Hurricanes hold up well in that football game.
Yeah, it's almost weird because, like, TL Hanna won the game, but I feel like I want to talk more about Wren. They had a 14-7 lead, I think, at half there. Had this ball game. They had a chance to win it. I think had to give up a late pick 6, I think, something like that, kind of make it look a little bit worse than it was. But Coach Freight's doing some good things. I think their quarterback, threw for 200+ and ran for 100+. Colton Bagwell, big game for him there. Wren's going to surprise people this year. They really are. And then TL Hanna on the other side continues to be kind of hard to figure out,
Just a mystery, man. I think you called him an enigma a couple of weeks ago. I just don't know what to make of TL Hanna. Whatever. Next week out Woodmont and TR. Woodmont blanks the TR Devil Dogs 22-0. Woodmont's looked really impressive early in the season.
They've got a couple running backs doing a really good job for them to kind of pair up with Jordan Sink there at quarterback. They're rushing for a lot of yards there. Coach Sullivan's doing a great job. He's offensive coordinator at heart. Doing a great job there on offense, and the defense is playing well also for them. And then don't forget they got the guy from Walhalla, coming over to kind of help them on offense as well, who had a great system, put up big numbers there for the Razorbacks the last couple of years. I think Woodmont is a solid football team, and they're getting some nice wins here early in the year.
And we'll end with a couple blowouts here, man. We had Somerville over Wando 62-12. Somerville, man, they're going to find their stride. That's a really good offensive and defensive team. And then White Knoll taking down Westwood 54-7. Moving on to 4A, we got Ardrey Kell out of North Carolina. They defeat Catawba Ridge 27-17. That's back-to-back losses for Catawba Ridge and the Copperheads there. Next, we've got James Island over Bishop England 49-0. James Island continues to roll. Bluffton beats Frederica Academy out of Georgia 44-13. Got Chapman over Lawrence 48-3. Lawrence is just not very good. Another blowout. Clinton defeats Aiken 63-6. Got Eastside over Blue Ridge 54-40. That was a good one if you like points. Speaking of points, Fairfield Central over Lancaster 46-44. We got Indian Land defeating Fort Mill 32-7. Next, we have Hilton Head Island over Wilson. This is another score that we scrolled over a couple of times and didn't really believe it. That was 43-0 in that game. Hilton Head Island is a team, they're just so far away. We really don't get a lot of their coverage and things like that to talk about them. But that is an impressive win. Again, I think we boost Hilton Head based on that performance, and then we're just going stock down on Wilson too, man. They have really been underwhelming these first few weeks of the season.
You got to hit the panic button down there. I mean, they've got athletes. They had a good squad last year, had some big wins. They got the Waiters kid back, Bryson Scott's there, whatnot. Coach Mooney's been, had those guys head in the right direction, it felt like. But early this year, they got one win. It was a 1-point win over Ainer, got smoked by Marion, Dillon, and now Hilton Head Island. Very worried about the Tigers.
Big win for Airport here in Coach Fid, man. They win this game 10-7 over Lugoff Elgin. Just happy to see what he's doing there. Playing some salty defense, too. That's awesome to see. You got May River defeating Battery Creek 44-12. Midland Valley holds off Harlem out of Georgia 42-35. Another huge game from Trayvon Dunbar there. And I think that we have Wade Hampton defeating Berea 35-13. I think that's Wade Hampton's first win on the season. And the last game in the 4A slate, we have West Florence defeating Dreer 44-17.
One more in 4A. I think we looked over Jerel. North Augusta 49, Greenwood 40. That was kind of a surprise to me. We talked about Greenwood has beaten Dorman and Dorman beat North Augusta. But now North Augusta beat Greenwood kind of in that three-man round robin there. Big win for Coach Bush's squad on the road. It's a tough place to play over there, and they got the offense rolling on Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to 3A, we have Barnwell defeating Orangeburg Wilkinson 43-12. Warhorses get back in the win column in a big way there. BHP rolls Woodruff 49-15. We talk about it every week, man, and we'll talk about him later. Marquise Henderson, man, that kid's special. I saw he's on the sidelines for the South Carolina game last night. These P5 schools need to go to a game down there in Belton and watch this kid play. He's very special. Next game, we have Darlington knocking off Sirrah 34-24.
Darlington had not won a game since 2019. They've won 2 now in the first 4 weeks of the season. Coach Johnson's doing some great things there. They're going to continue to get better as long as he's the head coach.
Carvers Bay knocks off Georgetown 32-20. Good win for Carvers Bay there. Daniel defeats Hart County out of Georgia. They win that game at 52-21. So hard, man. I want to talk about Daniel, but they really don't play high caliber opponents, and we don't know anything about Hart County under Georgia either. But one thing I know is that's a very good football team, and they continue to roll in some impressive talent. Johnsonville beats Waccamaw 37-14. We got Manning over Lake Marion 32-6. Ainer over Lakewood 21-12. Let's see. The next one we have is Oceanside over Marlboro County in a big way. They win that game 34-0. Man, Oceanside is playing some really fantastic football early in this season.
A team that I feel like was kind of forgot about in 2A because they lost state last year. Lost a lot of key pieces with Monroe Freeling and Vaughn Blue and Zach Hagedon and crew. But they are good, man. Edward Rodenbach's back. Virgilio is out there making plays over the field. We'll talk about him here more in a little bit. Year 2 under Coach Wilkes. This team is playing great football. They beat Carolina Forest already this season. Played South Lawrence fairly tough. And then a shutout win over an improving Marlboro County team is a big win there.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's impressed me the most about Oceanside is that defense, not just Marlboro County, just going back all the way to week 0, man. The way they were able to shut down that Louisville offense, very impressive stuff from those guys. Next, we got Gilbert defeating Pillion 55-9. Powdersville knocks off Pendleton in a high-scoring affair, 56-40. Now we have a low-scoring affair, Saluda and Emerald. Saluda hangs on to win this game. I think this was their homecoming. They win it 9-6. Let's see. We've got Savannah Christian out of Georgia over Battery Creek, 44-12. Walhalla defeats Southside 35-6. First win for Coach Stone there. That's an impressive win for the Razorbacks. St. Joe's over Seneca 24-7. I think that's back-to-back L's for the Bobcats.
And that's 2 years in a row that 1A St. Joe's is taking down 3A Seneca.
We also have Philip Simmons. They continue their winning ways. They knock off Timberland 37-13. And we close this out with Broome defeating Union County 62-34. Moving on to 2A. Andrew Jackson defeats Lamar 31-18. Got Andrews over Hannah Pamplico 52-22. Big time offensive performance for Andrews there.
Andrews is a team that we haven't talked enough about, I feel like. I think they played some really good football the last couple of years in that region with Marion there and just haven't quite got over the hump to win that region. But I think they're a real threat in 2A this year. They've got some good players on there. AJ Lee is a good running back for them. They're doing a great job there, Andrews is.
Edisto blanks Bethune-Bowman 41-0. We got Chesney knocking off RS Central out of North Carolina 41-13. Columbia blanks Great Falls 28-0. Liberty over Dixie 48-34.
3 wins for Liberty on the season, man. That's impressive. A team that is usually not really in the mix at all. Is playing some really good football here to start the season.
Hampton County defeats C.A. Johnson 28-0. We've got Keenan over North Central 22-7. Kingstree defeats Greensea Floyds 34-20. Lakeview big over Chesterfield 68-22. Landrum defeats Polk County out of North Carolina 47-21. Another big team another team that we need to be talking about more often. That's the Latta Vikings. They defeat Lee Central 31-0. Man, they've played really good football early in the season.
Undefeated so far. Big test this week against Johnsonville. We'll find out a lot about those guys against the Flashes, but Latta, the Vikings, Coach Eisman doing a great job there with that squad.
You think I've read a lot of numbers. Wait until I get to Louisville. They defeated Blacksburg 63-0. When we talk about their stats later in the show, you're probably going to get tired of hearing the numbers, man. Those boys are extremely talented.
And what's crazy, Jerel, we talk about the offense and how impressive those guys are. How about that defense? This Blacksburg team had a kid that was our player of the week last week, Josh Sims, put up huge numbers, and they get shut out by Louisville this week. Louisville played starters probably, a half, maybe. Those guys are so impressive, man. They have bounced back so well from that week 0 loss. They have just tons of talent over there.
Yeah, Louisville and Cherryville out of North Carolina are completely different competition, as Blacksburg unfortunately found out this past Friday night. Next game, we got 96 over Mid-Carolina, 21-0. Good win for 96 there. And we have Trinity Collegiate over Mullins, 43-16. Whitmire knocks off Eau Claire, 46-38. And Woodland defeats St. John's 42-18.
One more 2A. Marion blanks Hemingway 53-0. Swamp Foxes continue to roll there in 2A.
Allendale Fairfax defeats Denmark Olar. This is a shocking score. They win this game 28-26.
Big surprise for me. I thought the Vikings were playing some really good football. I didn't think they'd struggle at all this week, but they go down to Allendale Fairfax. Big win there for those guys.
We got Calhoun County over Burke, 49-0. McBee over East Clarendon, 29-6. And we have Johnsonville over Waccamaw, 37-14. And HKT over Military Magnet, 55-0. Cross runs it up on Scotts Branch, 54-6. Wagner Sally over Swansea, 30-13. Another team that's very exciting early in the season. West Oak defeats Ware Shoals 29-20. I think that's 3 wins on the season for them after struggling mightily last year. And we have the final score I have is Branchville over Wilson Elko, 63-20. Kev, you got some Skeeza scores or anything that I missed?
No, just Skeeza, I think, is all I have now. Bethlehem Christian 42-9 over Augusta Christian. Camden Military 6-0 over Northside Christian. Memorial Day 28, John Paul II 14. Wardlaw Academy 36, Andrew Jackson 28. Colleton Prep 70-0 over Cross. A closer one here than I thought, Jerel, and that's Hammond over Lawrence Manning 20-6. The Skyhawks, tough loss to Gray, of course, a couple weeks back, but have always been the class of 4A and SCSA. Lawrence Manning coming off a loss last week to Wilson Hall. Played these guys pretty tight here. Interesting matchup there for sure. Florence Christian gets off the snide. They take down Orangeburg Prep 30-8. Spartanburg Christian 79. Palmetto Christian 40. Cardinal Newman 44-6 over Atlantic Collegiate. Lee Academy 35. Dillon Christian 7. Patrick Henry 35-0 over Calhoun. St. Andrews 44-0 over Hilton Head Prep. Another big surprise in the SCSA ranks, Jerel. Hilton Head Christian, who was winless on the season, they take down previously unbeaten Ben Lippen 31-14 on Friday night. Lawrence Academy 36, Oak Brook Prep 34. Jefferson Davis 43, King Academy 0. Porter Goud all over Heathwood Hall 56-7. Williamsburg blanks Kings 58-0. Bethesda 34, Carolina 0. Buford Academy 35, Greenwood Christian 14. Holly Hill Academy 59, Faith Christian 14. Another surprise here, Dorchester Academy 20-13 over PD Academy. Thomas Hayward 27, St. John's 20. Wilson Hall 35, Thomas Sumter 7. And then Holy Trinity 56-14 over CCHS. Let's get a quick word in here from our sponsors, and then we'll roll into the next part of the program.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, KONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. Go to kona.care to learn more.
Come for the deals and stay for the quality with Folly Row. From polos to Q-zips to hats and more, their moisture wicking, quick drying, and anti-wrinkle apparel is the perfect blend of comfort and fashion for game day. FollyRow.com and at Folly Row on social media. Folly Row. Very good polos.
All right, Jerel, I do have a couple of notes I want to roll through before we move into stock up, stock down, and that is Midland Valley, 4-0, first time in school history. Kind of a surprising stat there, but big win for the Mustangs. They continue to roll, looks like.
Yeah, excited to see them, man. We saw them last week, in person. This is a really good football team, very physical. They like to run the football, obviously. They got one of the best running backs in Trayvon Dunbar, but just really impressed with the job that Coach Chapman and his staff have done there in a short amount of time.
And then how about this from Football City, USA? Between Rock Hill, Northwestern, and South Point, combined score 135-0 here in week 3. Those boys got it done, man. They are playing some great ball, and I guess they earned that moniker this week, huh?
Yeah, you see the graphics today. You start seeing the amount of, NFL talent. You start looking at these rosters and these guys who are playing on Sundays that have come from that area. One of the most fertile, areas for talent, high school football, college football, and pro football in the country. For sure. Let's look now at stock up, stock down, Jerel. Couple teams that I had on stock up who really impressed me this week. I've got Berkeley, the big comeback win over West Ashley. Lexington just hammering Blackwood. And then Buford, who seems to have found some things here, a big win over a 5A Goose Creek squad. I got to go Dutch Fork, man, just because we've been so down on them the last few weeks, them not being able to win a football game. They come back in a big fashion over Stratford. Rock Hill, impressive win for them, blanking their opponent there. And then Crestwood, man, with the upset of the week over Sumter. Just so impressed, not only winning that football game, going over there to Sumter to win that football game in double overtime. I've got North Augusta as another team that impressed me with that big win over Greenwood. Darlington, like I said, picking up 2 wins already, more than they had in the past, probably 4 or 5 years combined there. Big win for Coach Johnson and the guys. And then Carvers Bay, a team that has, had a lot of success in the past, had a couple of down years here. Nice win over Georgetown on Friday night. Most definitely. A few more that I've got. St. Joe's big win over Seneca. Allendale Fairfax, big win over Denmark Oler. That's huge for that program. West Oak, 3 wins on the season. They get it done again on Friday night. And then Chapin, man, that's a team they've been playing for their community. They've just done really good things. They had an impressive win over Newberry this week. 2 more for me to finalize the stock up here. That's Hilton Head Christian. I just mentioned the big win over Ben Lippen to get off the snide. Big win there for those guys. And then Pinewood Prep, 77-27 over First Baptist. Big win for Coach Devontae Holloman.
to get his first dub as the head man there as head coach of the Panthers. Jerel, let's look now at stock down. Who do you have on the downward trend this week?
A couple teams, man. I got Sumter. I'm going to start off with them, man. I think they were consensus top 3 team in the state in 5A. And, just having a letdown at home against Crestwood, that's no knock on Crestwood. That's a very good football team, but you expected them to win this game, even if it was going to be close. And another team that I have on stock down is Goose Creek. Just have not performed early on in the season.
I've got Catawba Ridge on there. I don't know a lot about Ardrey Kell, honestly, out of North Carolina, but just they have not been the same Catawba Ridge as last year so far this year, and another tough loss there for the Copperheads. Marlboro County, we mentioned the shutout, performance there against Oceanside. Could not get anything going offensively. I thought this was a team that was going to make some big noise this year. Not a great week there for them. And then finally, Denmark Olar, the Vikings. I was super high on them coming off that Bamberg win a couple weeks back. To lose to Allentown Fairfax, that caught me by surprise. Joe, anything else on the stock down that you got for this week?
Just saying, just going back to Goose Creek, I do want to qualify that one. They lost to a really good Buford team, but talking about them, they did the same thing last year. They started off miserably last season, and they won all of their region games and ended up being a number 1 seed in the playoffs. So plenty of time for all of these teams to kind of get it going, especially playing a lot of these non-region games.
Yes, they certainly can, Drew. Let's take a look now at our Players of the Week, brought to you by the Georgia Agency. And I'm going to go ahead and just apologize because we're leaving out some great performances this week. I mean, this may be the toughest week we've ever had to pick 3 of these guys. We had so many nominations and so many just video game stat lines, it felt like, Jerel, but we had to pick 3. I'm sorry, guys, who didn't win. We're still going to shout you out. Of course, you got a big-time performance, but appreciate everyone sending us all these great stats. It's hard to pick, but we love seeing these great guys shine from across the state. But, Drill, our 3 players of the week, let's start here in Greenville County. Calvin Banks over at Eastside, 24 carries, 420 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's over 17 yards a carry, Jerel. That is a massive night there for Calvin Banks.
I don't need to say anything. I'm speechless, just reading that stat line. There's nothing really to say, man. What a performance by Calvin. Got it done on Friday.
Huge game out of him. Another huge game here over at Belton Honea-Path, and that's Marquise Henderson. We've been very high on this guy for the past couple of years. He goes 14 rushes, 301 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Got it done against Woodruff. This kid is electric. He's explosive. He's hard to bring down. Huge win, huge game for Marquise Henderson Friday, Drill.
Just slight work, just another performance for him. He didn't cramp up today, so he went over 300, so just excited to see him. And, he's only a junior. He's only going to get better. That's what's scary.
This kid here, a freshman, he is going to have a lot of chances to continue to win Player of the Week awards from us. And that is Henry Rivers at Berkeley, 22 for 35, 321, 5 touchdowns, and a touchdown on the ground as well. A kid that has played super well so far this season as a freshman in some big-time atmospheres. Comes up big in a big comeback win there for the Stags, Jerel.
Man, just an impressive player, man. Just those numbers, the fact that it was a comeback, he's a freshman. I mean, we've seen the video of him, just his, just sheer arm talent. Man, he's just going to be a special player. Just stay in that system, stay the course, stay with Coach Lodge. And, we're going to see these big-time offers rolling in soon.
So our 3 players of the week, Calvin Banks at Eastside, Marquise Henderson at Belton Honea-Path, and Henry Rivers at Berkeley. Drill, let's give a shout out to some of these other nominees that we got and give those guys some shine here on the program as well.
Yeah, we'll start off with Oceanside. We had Will Virgilio. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, man. Not the best with the Spanish pronunciations, but he had 230 all-purpose, a punt return TD, a rushing TD, and 5 catches for 84 yards. Colton Chapman from Daniel goes 21 for 26 for 230 and 4 touchdowns. Jakari Bennett, man, he keeps getting it done on the ground for the Lions there as well. 10 rushes, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kendall Jackson out of Liberty, 10 carries for 181 yards and 4 touchdowns. This was one of the hard ones to leave him off our list. Ian Grissom from Louisville had 17 for 19, 453 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think he got this through the first drive of the third quarter of this football game. That's how impressive he was on Friday night. Drew Spires, who won last week, gets it done again for Richard Wynn. He goes 6 catches for 164 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 tackles. Caden Bash out of Berkeley, 6 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. Kevin Boone, also from Berkeley, 9 catches for 113 and 4 touchdowns, helping Henry Rivers out there. Finley Polk from Northwestern goes 16 of 18 for 231 and 4 touchdowns. Also had 5 rushes for 46 yards and a touchdown. All of that in the first half in their blowout victory. Trayvon Dunbar, previous winner as well, from Midland Valley, has 26 carries for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns in their big win over Harlem, Georgia. Going back to Berkeley, Preston Short, 2 onside kicks, 2 pooch kicks, all successful. Love to see the specialists get a shout out here. Congratulations to Preston there. Owen Becks from Trinity Collegiate has 14 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a block punt in that game. AJ Lee out of Andrews gets it done on the ground with 23 rushes for 292 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tanner Macy from May River goes 4 out of 8 for 138 and 2 touchdowns. And 16 carries for 267 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Adrian Robinson, man, we always talk about this kid out of Louisville. 4 catches, 144 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is quite the player. Camden Moore from Williamsburg has 5 carries for 123 yards, 1 touchdown, and then another catch for 63 yards and a touchdown. Efficient in that performance. Jules Huntley from Florence Christian always gets it done as well on the ground. 30 carries for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. This dynamic backfield out of Hartsville, we have Akeem Waters going 16 for 196 and 4 touchdowns, and his backfield mate Carmelo McDaniel with 174 yards and 2 touchdowns in their big win over Dillon. Avery McFadden, we talked about him earlier in the show. 3 touchdowns total, 2 on the ground and 1 receiving, all the scoring there for the Rams. And a big shout out to that Ram defense, man. They allowed 6 points to a very good Bowling Springs offense. They got it done, kept them in the game, and were really the story of the football game there. We have Jalen Ford out of Lakeview with 6 total touchdowns. Rodney Bryant from Kingstree. Listen to this, Kevin. 11 rushes, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns. Then on the other side, 5 tackles, 4 TFLs, a sack, 2 picks, 1 that he took to the house. And we also have Malik Dukes from Kingstree with 8 tackles, 6 TFLs, and 4 sacks. Crazy numbers, Kev. Crazy numbers.
Just a great week of performances from across the state. And you guys, we appreciate you sending us that, and continue to do so, please, on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or our Facebook Messenger or email or whatever. Love getting those stats, getting to see these kids and giving them a shout out on the program. They are doing some great things all across the state. So continue to send that to us. And I do want to make a note. I know you mentioned Preston Short there for Berkeley. Guys, don't feel like you just got to send offensive performances too. If a field goal kicker or a punter or a defensive player, whoever has a huge game, send those stats too. I know we had Jay Neeson, a defensive guy, a couple weeks ago as our player of the week. So we are more than willing to throw out a defensive guy or a specialist at some point here too. So to continue to send us that, not just all the big offensive numbers, but appreciate you guys getting that in. And then one more time, our players of the week: Calvin Banks at Eastside, Marquise Henderson at BHP, and Henry Rivers at Berkeley. Jerel, let's give one more shout out to our friends of the program before we finish up the show here momentarily.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more. So wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net.
Come for the deals and stay for the quality with Folly Row. From polos to Q-zips to hats and more, their moisture wicking, quick drying, and anti-wrinkle apparel is the perfect blend of comfort and fashion for game day. FollyRow.com and at Folly Row on social media. Folly Row. Very good polos.
True. We've got the Folly Row question of the week here for you. This is a good one here. How about this? So far in the season, which new head coaching hire would you say has been the most impressive?
Man, if I had to pick, man, I'd have to go Jamie Johnson at Darlington, man. I think he has done a fantastic job, with that program there, getting some wins. But even then, I think they lost to Lugoff last week, a 7-0 ball game. They lost to Hartsville. It was probably more competitive than the Dillon game. I mean, it was just the same. I know they had some sparks in the crowd that kind of disrupted that game, but that doesn't take away from Darlington, man. That was a program that it just weren't getting it done the last few seasons. He's come in, brought in his system, brought in his culture from Hannah Pamplico, and they have really performed well early on.
I'm going to go kind of a similar route here, and that's Eric Lodge at Berkeley, a program that was down in the dumps, really, man. Needed a complete facelift. He's done a great job bringing in a new system, some new life. Sorry about that, folks. Some new energy.
Bless you.
Yeah.
And
Coach Lodge did a great
job
down
Leave
there.
that in there.
Leave that in there. You think drunk. But love what Coach Lodge is doing. I mean, they lost a tough one to Somerville already, but they've gotten some very nice wins over Timberland, Hanahan, and now West Ashley. Those guys are believing in his program. Love what they're doing there. But, I mean, I could have picked 4 or 5 guys. I mean, look at what Coach Schweigert's doing at Hillcrest. They've off to a great start. Love what he's doing with that program, Jerel. Anybody else you want to shout out who has been doing a great job so far as a new head coach?
I say Coach Bennett at 96, man. He's really just, come in. Obviously, he knows winning. We talked to him, in the off season. He's a Gaffney guy. Spent the last few years at Clinton. He just understands everything about a program. He understands about, getting the community involved and, everything that's involved with building a high school football program. I'm really impressed with what Coach Bennett has done, and it's translated to on the field.
For sure. Well, if you guys have another suggestion, feel free to hit us up on the comments. Let us know who you think has been the most impressive new head coaching hire so far. But that is our Folly Row question of the week, Jerel. If you guys have just tuned in for the first time, we appreciate you doing that. We do a weekly recap show, comes out on Sunday. That recaps all the action from that previous Friday night. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. That's MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movinchains.com, has links to all of our social, has all of our videos, things like that. Our podcast available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a live preview show on Tuesday nights. That's over on Facebook and YouTube. Love to get the fan interaction. You guys can hop in there, ask about your favorite team, give us your thoughts on your favorite team as well. It's a really fun thing to do live about 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights there. We do our weekly spaces Friday night about 10:30, 11 over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. It's basically a scoreboard show, and we roll through the scores from the night. We have different folks, fans, coaches, play guys, etc., hop in to talk about their ball games today. It's a lot of fun to do that and talk some ball for sure. And then, Drill, we got our polls coming out this week, man. That's excited to look forward to. That'll be very interesting to see, because we a lot of times don't agree with some of the other polls that are floating around out there. So we decided to make our own, and it's going to be great when it comes out, huh?
I think so. I think we know a little bit about these teams and about what's going on across the state. Before I ramble on more about high school football, I got to give another shout out to Folly Row, man. These people are great, man. I got my stuff a couple weeks ago. I was telling you about. I ordered, I got the Palmetto, which is blue, the royal blue, looking like the state colors. Man, it's awesome. That moisture wicking technology, man. I am a sweater, so maybe TMI for the people listening. So it's awesome for me. And I also got a free T-shirt with it, man. They're doing a lot of promotional stuff like that. You might see me in one of the interviews. I had the free T-shirt on a couple weeks ago in Midland Valley. Just awesome people there. It came quick. Everything was first class about it. Really appreciate Folly Row. And I know it's golf season. I think this is like the most beautiful time to go golf. And I know you hit the links this afternoon.
Yep.
Go get you some fresh gear, for where you guys go hit the links across the state.
They got some great stuff. And on top of that, too, they've got some very nice collegiately themed polos as well for Clemson and South Carolina. So get one to support your favorite squad on a Saturday as well. So got some great stuff there at Folly Row, follyrow.com. They do a great job with their polos and all things like that. We appreciate them for sure for helping us out. But Jerel, we were talking about it Friday night after the spaces. You and I and John had a little quick call. And this week, week 4, we're talking about, looks absolutely loaded, man. I'm so excited. But any final thoughts on week 3, and then as a quick look ahead to week 4 as well?
Yeah, man, I can't get over that upset for Crestwood, man. That was fantastic stuff. That's why they say, they say any given Sunday, but even any given Friday also applies, man. You got to bring it each and every week, especially in this state. There's so much talent, so many good teams, so many good coaches. So you got to bring it each week, and the Gamecocks found that out on Friday night. Ready to put this one to bed, though, because this next week, Kev, like you alluded to, is a behemoth. I cannot wait to listen to you guys on Tuesday. The preview show is going to be fantastic. I don't even know. Have we narrowed down games of the week? I think we have like 12. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt about it. It's going to be great, man. So Moving the Chains, as always, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. This is our Week 3 Folly Row recap show. For Jerel Hendricks, I'm Kevin Thomas, and we will catch you guys sometime soon.